بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. We'll be discussing, commenting, explaining, shedding light on a small booklet that's called Risalatul Qalb, which can be translated to mean as a letter or a small book on the heart, about the heart. And in actuality, this book wasn't a separate book by its author, but instead the book is taken from a larger work, like many other works of this famous and infamous author. And this famous and infamous author is Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. May Allah have mercy upon him. He has a very large work which is called Majmu' al-Fatawa, from which many scholars have taken smaller books. A large set of volumes. Different scholars later on, they took sections, essays, discussions, rather questions and answers from that book and turned it into an actual book. So from that is this book with regards to speaking on the heart, its importance, and most importantly, because we all know the importance of the heart, but most importantly, the objective of the heart. What do you have a heart for? What's its main usage? What's its initial primary usage? And that's extremely important in life. If you're a barber, you can use this pair of clippers or trimmers for something that it's not originally made for, to cut this, to trim this, to shave this. But it's not but so much that you're going to use the big clipper for something small and fine, except that you're either going to do damage to the brother's lip, his ear, his neck, or do damage to the actual pair of clippers. And the reason behind it is that those Andes masters aren't made for trimming and shaping up. But you may be able to do it here and there. So it's very important in life to know what the thing is originally made for. A car. You can drive it on the road. You can go fast in this car, but the car is a hauling car. It's not meant to be pushed 100 miles per hour every day up and down the road. It's not a sports car. It's not an SUV. You can fit more people into the car. You can put things in the trunk, but eventually the shocks, the springs are going to be what? Worn down, because it's not a pickup truck. And it's not made to bear that heavy load too often. But I can drive it on the street. It's no prohibition. You can do it from time to time, but it's not made for that type of hauling. It's not made for that type of speed. A kitchen knife. You have a big cleaver, right? To chop meat, chop bones with. You can cut a carrot with it. You can cut a piece of fruit with it. You can open up a bag with it. You can smash a piece of garlic with it. But if you keep using that big, huge knife like that, it's a big possibility that you'll smash the thing that you're trying to cut. Or you'll cut your finger or hurt yourself, or something else will happen. You put a dent in the cutting board, etc., etc. Because that type of knife isn't originally made for small, minute, fine slicing, etc. You get the point I'm trying to make? An example after example after example after example on any aspect or sphere of life in which there are things that are used not for what they were originally made. Clothes, boots. These boots are construction boots, but we wear them as fashion boots. These pants were used, they were made for construction workers, for carpenters, for painters. But we use them, just casually. And that's okay. But you wear them in the summertime, or you wear these boots in the wintertime because that's the style and the fashion. But these boots don't have insulation in them. They're not made for the wintertime. They're made for this season. They're made for this environment, etc. So the concept of the heart, why do you have a heart? What's the original purpose and objective of a heart? And how excessive misuse of the original purpose of the heart is going to lead to the breakdown and the destruction and the ruining of the heart. You guys get the point I'm trying to make? So this is what this book is about. The importance of the heart, the status of the heart, and these are things that you've already heard today and that you already know about. But we want to discuss and put focus on and pinpoint, inshallah ta'ala, is the main purpose, the main objective of one's heart. Now, obviously, there are many different books on the heart and the hearts, the types of hearts, etc. Countless books, countless lectures. I myself, with my humble efforts, I've done many talks on the heart, series on the heart, on amrad al-qulub, illnesses and diseases of the heart and their cures, on how to fix your heart, how to soften your heart, how to strengthen your heart, etc., etc., etc. Right? And I remember one time I was going to do, or I did a khutbah and I spoke on the heart, and I talked about the heart. And I did some more research, and there's a benefit when you've learned something or you know something. Every time that you have to speak on it again or talk about it again, you dig deeper into it. You review what you already learned and studied, and oftentimes it forces you to dig even deeper and discover new depths of what you previously learned about. So I was researching about the history of the heart and why do human beings from east to west, north to south, the yellow, the red, the black, the white, why do they talk about the heart when it comes to love, heartbreak, passion, affection, emotion, bravery, courage, cowardice? We don't have to talk about no exotic kingdom, this land. We're talking about the streets of Philadelphia. Somebody that's brave, that's courageous, somebody that you don't mind, if it came down to it, being with him. If it came down to it, you say he got what? He got heart. Such and such got heart. He's brave. You don't say anything about his brain. You say anything about his nervous system. You don't talk about no other part of his faculties, but you say he got what? He got heart. Comes to Islam, Dawah, this city, this one, that one. Okay, you refuted this one. He may be a this, he may be a that, but you ain't got the heart to say to his face. He's a deviant, go tell him to his face. You can say whatever you want. You can hide behind a computer screen, but we both know that you lack the what? The necessary heart to go say it to his face. This is what we say. This is our terminology, our culture, urban culture. You ain't got no heart. Nah, your heart, you ain't built like that. Nah, I don't want you coming with me. I want somebody with me that got what? That got heart. And we never ever use the term brain. When someone trades on you or cheats on you or tricks you, or whatever the case may be, you say, you have what type of heart do you have? Do you even have a heart? Right? Someone who's an infamous murderer or a henchman. All right. What did the guy say? He was the bodyguard of Pablo Escobar. And they interviewed him and they asked him, how many people you killed? When's the first time you killed somebody? When did you stop feeling bad for shooting people? When did you lose your heart or your soul? Never ever the brain and the faculty of thinking, etc., etc., etc. So the point is that I was doing research and I was reinvestigating and unearthing, digging up again where the status and the importance of the heart comes from among all religions, races, cultures, and locations in the world throughout history. You got the point I'm trying to make? And how many people, through the epic of modern science, medical science, different discoveries that they've made, and they found out and they figured out that the emotions come from this part of the brain, the cerebrum, this part, this section, this quarter, this lobe, this hippo, such and such, the different terms and words about the parts of the brain, right? And back in the day, obviously, that type of science wasn't necessarily documented. Or if it was documented, it wasn't systematically documented the way it is now. We're talking about modern medical science. And many people thought and they felt back in the day that the heart was responsible for feelings and emotions, dispositions, etc. And the modern day scientists, they say all of those feelings and emotions are where? In the brain. And the heart's main purpose is to pump and push in and out blood. That's it. But no emotion comes from the heart. Being afraid doesn't come from the heart. Being attracted to someone, falling in love with someone doesn't come to the what? The heart. There's no such thing as being heartbroken. In actuality, your feelings are hurting, you're upset, and that's all coming from your brain, the chemicals going in and out of your brain, etc., etc., etc. But where did the people get it from for all of those centuries? And not once did they ever refer to mind or brain. Point number one. Point number two, very interestingly, I was researching, where does the heart symbol come from? Why have people made that sign of what a heart is supposed to look like? Love, emotion, feeling. But through the study of the human anatomy, that's not what a heart looks like. There's no comparison. It isn't it like a little off. The heart, human heart, does not look like a heart sign or a heart symbol. So I was researching, where exactly did that come from? And some people said that it comes from a certain type of plant, a flower. Others said that it came from a part of a woman's body. And they even differed on which of the parts of a woman's body does the heart symbol come from. This part of her body or that part of her body. And there were other things as well, different theories that scholars and researchers among the non-Muslims said where the modern day heart symbol actually what came from. And this is important if you think about it. Where did it come from? Where did people come up with a sign for a heart? And that doesn't look like what? The heart at all. A hand, a finger, an arm, you make a muscle, it's clear. But where did it come from with that sign? And why is it red? And blood is never the color of red. St. Valentine's Day, perfect example. The first thing you think about when you think of St. Valentine's is that shade, that hue of red with pink. And human blood doesn't what? Don't look like that. Your internal organs, they what? They don't look like that. And we go on and on and on when we start talking about the heart and what the heart does and what the heart does not do. And there was a time in which doctors and surgeons, they fought vehemently about how blood flows through the body and what is the function of the heart with regards to pushing the blood through the body. So the only point that I'm trying to get to is that the heart inside of Islam, outside of Islam, has always been an issue of utmost importance, period. When we talk about strategy, we say strike at the what? Heart. The capital city is the heart, never the brain, the nervous system. We always talk about the heart, the heart, the heart. All right? So that's just interesting, food for thought, right? So anyhow, Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, in this risala, it was published by Shaykh Salim al-Hilali, hafidhullah. He says, or the book says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وبه أستعين قال الشيخ الإمام والعالم شيخ الإسلام تقي الدين أبو العباس أحمد بن تيمية الحراني قدس الله روحه ونور ضريحه. إيش هذا التصوف ولا كيف؟ ها؟ يجوز هذا؟ قال فصل، يعني لأن الرسالة هذه منتزعة من المجموع، فهذا إنما هو إيش؟ الرسالة إنما هي فصل من الأصل أو في الأصل. قال فصل، إن الله سبحانه وتعالى خلق القلب للإنسان ليعلم به الأشياء كما خلق العين يرى به الأشياء والأذن يسمع بها الأشياء كما خلق له سبحانه كل عضو من أعضائه لأمر من الأمور وعمل من الأعمال، فاليد للبطش والرجل للسعي واللسان للنطق والفم للذوق والأنف للشم والجلد لللمس وكذلك سائر الأعضاء الباطنة والظاهرة. Shaykh al-Islam, he says that indeed Allah, the sublime and the exalted, he created for man his heart. He gave man something. He created and made something for man, and it is the qalb. For what purpose? Shaykh al-Islam, he says, لِيَعْلَمَ بِهِ الْأَشْيَاءِ, for man to know, to recognize, to discern, to sift through things. That's why he gave man a heart, to know things. And he doesn't mention the brain. He doesn't mention the aql. Even though the Muslims, scholars, philosophers, theologians, for many, many years have fought and argued, where is the mind? Is the mind in the head, or is the mind actually in the heart, or is there a connection between the two? And that goes perfectly in line with what I just explained. The Greeks, the Romans, the ancient, all of them use the term what? Heart. Always talked about a person's heart. A painter, a musician, a sculptor. He said, I made this song, this score, this painting. It poured from my heart. My soul, I put my soul into this. I came from my what? When you speak, when you rap from your what? From your mind or your what? From your heart, right or wrong? Talk and speak from your what? They always say that, and they never ever refer to one's brain. So the people, Muslim and non-Muslim alike, the point I'm trying to make is always been, the focus has been on the heart. So Shaykh al-Islam, he says, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he created for man the qalb, the heart, for him to know things therewith. So the knowledge and lack of knowledge, sight and lack of sight, sense, common sense, lack of common sense for Muslim comes from his heart. So if this is the motherboard, this is the central, the center of your intelligence, it only makes sense for you to protect it as much as you possibly can. If you to keep it as safe as you possibly can. And for you to be as stingy and selective as much as you possibly can to the center of your intelligence. And without ilm, without intelligence, is nothing you can do in life, period. And this is something that we tell our children, we tell the teenagers all of the time. It's not cool to be smart. No one wants to be a geek, a nerd, weird, corny. You're boring. You're this, you're that. I want to have fun. I want to dress nice. I want to do this. I want to sleep. I want to eat. I want to talk with such and such. These sneakers, blah, 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 blah. Right? This app, this channel, this movie, these games, etc., etc., etc. No problem. Even jewelry that people wear. But who do you think is the person that's behind the smartphone, the iPhone? Rather, let's get technical. Let's get the music that you like to listen to. This type of musician, this expensive video, this trap, whatever they call it nowadays. 9 out of 10 times, the person that's making the lyrics, the person that's making the beat, that's in the studio, that's mixing it, that's producing it, is someone that you would consider to be totally what? Corny. It's not some thugged out type of person. It's not some super funny, smooth ladies man type person. It's some geeky person with big, thick goggle glasses behind a keyboard. It's some person that went to school for many years out of their life, not being cool, having no social life, not smoking and drinking, having no girls. That's the person who made and designed the thing that you worship. That's the person who made and designed those shoes and sneakers that you worship. That's the person that's allowing you to watch the video. That's the person that's allowing you to drive the car. And the list goes on and on and on. So without knowledge and expertise, you can't live in the deen or the dunya. That's the point I'm trying to get to. And for many Muslim teenagers that are lazy and lethargic, they don't want to do nothing. All right, you don't want to study Islam. No problem. Study the dunya. Get a degree. Go play some sports. Do something. No, I just want to lay around all day. I just want to sit around, eat, drink, sleep, and that's it. Well, what future are you going to have, son or daughter, if that's your life? Forget the deen. We're not saying go memorize the Quran, go to Medina. All right, we know you don't want to do that. But what about the dunya? The games that you're playing, the social media apps that you're on, they weren't designed by people that sleep and eat all day. They weren't designed by people that have no desire for anything. So if you can't have ilm, knowledge, if you can't see through things, you're a sitting duck. And the deen, of course, we already know that. Let alone in the what? In the dunya. That's the point I'm trying to get to. So Shaykh al-Islam, he says that Allah created for man the heart, for man to know things through the heart, with the heart. Just as kama, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the eye for seeing and the ear for hearing. And Allah made every body part, every bone, every organ for something, for a task, for a purpose, like a toolbox. Phillips flathead. This is a mallet. This is a hammer. This is a finishing tool. This is a big. Everything in the toolbox has a specific purpose. And like we said, you may be able to use it here, but if you keep using the Phillips when you're supposed to use the flathead, you're going to strip it. It's going to use its original purpose, and it's going to be messed up forever. And that is the heart. If you keep using the heart for the improper purpose, it's going to be worn out and it's going to break. That's a fact. He says, so therefore the hand is for grabbing, touching, and feeling. The foot is for walking and moving and jumping, sa'i, for movement. The tongue is for speaking. The mouth is for tasting. The nose is for smelling. The skin is to feel and to perceive things. And the same applies to all of the inward and outward organs. فإذا استعمل الإنسان العضو فيما خلق له وأعد من أجله فذلك هو الحق القائم والعدل الذي قامت به السماوات والأرض وكان ذلك خيرا وصلاحا لذلك العضو ولربه وللشيء الذي استعمل فيه وذلك الإنسان هو الصالح الذي استقام حاله أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون. Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah, may Allah have mercy upon him, he then says, so therefore, when man uses the bone or the organ or the part, when man uses that body part for what it was created, why it was made and prepared and given to him, then that is al-haqqul qa'im. He says that's the standing truth. And that's the justice upon which the heavens and the earth was established. Proper balance. This bird flies like this. This fish swims like that. The sun comes, the moon comes, the clouds, the rain, the snow, everything is in perfect balance. There's nothing out of whack, out of sync, except with the perversion, except with the interference of man. And that's a fact. They ask a common question, can a woman take pills to prevent her menstrual cycle, her period? I want to make Hajj without any interferences. I want to, I don't want to be bleeding here. I don't want to be in a bad situation. Can I take birth control? I don't want my wife to get pregnant, etc., etc. The woman's body is made to menstruate. The woman's body is made to conceive. The woman's body is made to do this and not to do that. When man interferes with the woman's body, stopping this, preventing that, holding this back, speeding this up, playing around with this, most women after birth control, after this pill, after this shot, they have what? They have irregular menstruation. Their menses are messed up. And when their menses become messed up, everything becomes chaotic. Marriage, divorce, childbirth, salah, etc. And it all came from a man or woman, speaking in the genus, interfering with the natural flow. The body's woman is supposed to push out and expel that useless blood. She hasn't become pregnant. She's not conceived. It's now it needs to leave the body. But we say, no, I want to do this. I want this, etc. And the list applies to anything else that you do when you play around with in nature that you're not supposed to. And some of the most horrific atrocities have been committed in history by man trying to play the creator, trying to remove this suffering from the human beings, trying to prevent this, trying to eliminate that. There's no such thing as this disease anymore. There's no such thing as mental illness anymore. All of these people that we made sterile, this race, you read about history. Read about history. Forget Darwin, but Darwin's relatives, eugenics. Some of the worst crimes were made in the name of making things better. But that's not how Allah created things. Allah made a person with a sound mind, and he also made the person who's majnoon for a wisdom. It's a reason why there's someone who's mad or insane or crazy. It's a reason why. You try to rid that from humanity, do away with it, take it out of existence, things become turbulent and chaotic. So when the human being uses the bone or the organ or the body part properly as Allah intended, he says that that's perfect justice upon which the heavens and the earth were established. He says, and not only is that justice and truth, he says, but that is also khair and salah. It's the best thing to do. For how many people? How many things? He says, lil udwi. وَلِرَبِّهِ وَلِلشَّيْءِ الَّذِي اسْتُؤْمِنَ فِيهِ. All three. It's best for that body part. It's best for the owner and the possessor of that body part or that organ. And it's best for the thing that was the body part was employed for or in. All three things. So using the hand for the original purpose of the hand is better for the owner of the hand. And it's better for the thing that you're picking up and grabbing. And it's better for the hand itself, etc. So just think about one's heart. Using your heart properly for what it was made. The reason why you were given a heart. It's best for how many? Number one, it's best for what? The heart itself. You have more shelf life, better maintenance. You'll take care of your heart in the long run. Number two, it's also best for the what? The owner of the heart. Rabbul Qalb. It's best for you. And thirdly, the thing for which you're using the heart, if you're using it properly, then it's best for that thing. Understand this now? Improperly using the heart is bad for how many things? How many? Three things, which are what? It's bad for the heart itself. And it's also bad for the owner of the heart. And thirdly, it's bad for the purpose of you using your heart improperly. All three things are going to be out of whack, out of sync. If not now, then what? Later on. Just ponder on those words now. Putting stuff into your heart, exposing your heart to stuff that is not supposed to be exposed to. Establishing your heart upon things is not supposed to be established on. In the end, all three of those things are going to be damaged. The heart itself, the owner of the heart, and the purpose. Shaykh Islam here says, and the one who uses the heart, the one who gains, he says, it is the one who is called Salih. And Salih doesn't just mean righteous. It doesn't just mean righteous, but it's a deeper depth in Arabic. Salih doesn't just mean righteous or good, a righteous man or good deeds. Amal salihah. But if you look at the original usage of the word, Sad, Lam, Ha, it doesn't necessarily pertain to righteousness, but something which is yasluh, something which is suitable, something which is usable, something that works. It works, it fits, it slides in, it fits in, it's usable. And just think about the concept of being righteous. Is that the Abd Salih, the righteous person, he or she, they do what? They work. I don't have the most money. I don't have the biggest, largest amount of money, but the money that Allah gave me, it what? It works. My family dynamic, the amount of knowledge that I have, my dawah, my students, whatever you're doing, my body, my frame, my appearance, it does what? It works. I'm happy and it's good for me. I'm happy and it's good for me. So when a person is righteous and a person has salah, things work for that individual. All right? And things also, another usage of the word, as the Sad, the Lam, and the Ha, yuslihu. Things are fixed and mended through those righteous people. And righteous doesn't just mean how you dress or the prayers that you make or the fasting that you do, the zakat that you give, but it's your heart being clean. You not being a backbiter or a slanderer or greedy monger of a thing. You being addicted to lust and desires or afraid and scared. When people are fighting, when Muslims are fighting, we need a neutral, impartial person respected by both sides to do what? To bring Islah. But how can you bring Islah when you're a coward, when you're a liar, when you're greedy? Your heart is not pure for Allah. You have an ulterior motive, a hidden agenda. But you're outwardly playing the peacemaker. The Islah won't take place. And this happens all the time. You say, oh, make Islah with Brother Fulan. Make Islah with this masjid. I just want you guys to make Islah. It's not that simple. Because the Sad and the Lam and the Ha is either weak or missing from somebody's heart. Shaykh Islam, he says, he is the one alladhi istaqama haluhu, who has a good situation. As Allah says in the Quran, these people here, he says, ala hudan min rabbihim, they're upon a guidance from Allah. Wa ulaika humul muflihun, and they are the successful. وإذا لم يستعمل العضو في حقه بل ترك بطالا فذلك خسران وصاحبه مغبون، وإن استؤمن في خلاف ما خلق له فهو الضلال والهلاك، وصاحبه من الذين بدلوا نعمة الله كفرا. ثم إن سيد الأعضاء ورأسها هو القلب كما سمي قلبا. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: إن في الجسد مضغة إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله ألا وهي القلب. وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم: الإسلام علانية والإيمان في القلب. ثم أشار بيده إلى صدري وقال: ألا إن التقوى ها هنا، ألا إن التقوى ها هنا. On the next page, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah says, so therefore, or thusly, when the bone or the body part or the organ isn't used for its original purpose, it's left and it's abandoned, it's just sitting there, then of course you're at loss. You're at loss. You have a racehorse, a Ferrari, a Porsche, whatever type of fast sports car, tie-in sports car, and you're driving doing 40 miles per hour on the highway. It's not destroying the car, you're not harming the car, but for sure you're at what? You're at loss. This is a racehorse. Pump the gas, press it. It's made to go to that speed. It's made for that. So you using it moderately like this, mildly lukewarm, you're losing out on all the money that you paid for it. You're losing out on the construction and the design of the car, right? Number two, step two, or scenario number two, is to misuse the body part or the organ, to misuse the heart. Then not only is that loss, he says, but that's destruction. That's halak. That's dalal. That's misguidance. You're using that Ferrari to plow the snow. You're using that Ferrari to haul bricks and stones to a construction site. You're using that Ferrari to put 6-7 people in it. You're using that Ferrari to drive off-road, etc. It's going to break down. It's going to be destroyed. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get injured. Something's going to be really messed up. So a person, the human being, the Muslim, the servant, he has three options, three scenarios with regards to his or her heart. What are those three? ما هي يعني الصور الثلاثة يا ياسر؟ الصورة الأولى أن يستعمل الإنسان القلب في إيش؟ فيما خلق له، في الوجه الذي خلق له، في الصورة أو الهيئة المهيئة له. For man to use his heart how Allah intended for him to use it. If he doesn't do that, number two, second scenario is for him to use the heart. What? Is not to use the heart for what it was used. To just leave it and abandon it. Not to think, not to reflect, not to ponder, not to feel softness or tenderness. And that's, at best, that's what? Khasara. It's loss. Allah gave you a heart and you're not even using it. And the third scenario is to do what? It's to totally what? Misuse the heart. To think, to feel, to allow things in or out of the heart that are totally against the owner's manual. And obviously that's not just loss, but that's what? Destruction. That's halak. That's dalal. You're lost. So let us ask ourselves, which of the three categories do we fall under? And how strongly do we fall under those three categories? How often are my categories switching or fluctuating? Am I using my heart properly for ilm, to see, to think, to determine? Am I not using my heart? Play, laughter, recreation, entertainment, sitting around, chilling. I'm not that deep of a thinker. Or am I thinking about things, feeling things, creating, producing, painting, whatever, composing things from my heart? But it's not made for that. You get the point? It wasn't made for that purpose. That's not the original reason why Allah gave your heart to sculpt or to paint, and to paint things that are impermissible, etc. Now, he says, and the one who uses his heart in that third scenario, he says he is from those who have substituted Allah's blessings and gratefulness for Allah's blessings with kufr, total ungratefulness. You take Allah's blessing that He gave you and you discard it. Rather, you put it in the improper place. Next point of discussion, he says, furthermore, the heart is the king and the master and the head of all organs and body parts. The heart is superior, the chessboard. The most superior piece is the what? Is the king, without a doubt. King isn't the most powerful piece. It doesn't move as much as the other pieces move. It doesn't have as much defensive and striking power. But the thing that is to be protected and sacrificed for at all costs and expenses is the king. And all other pieces are inferior to the king. And all other pieces are made for the protection and sacrifice for the king. If you're unwilling to accept that, don't play chess. That's not fair. Why not the queen? Why not this? Chess is not the game for you. And the same applies to life. Islam. If you're not willing to accept the fact that the heart is the most important organ, it's the most precious, costly thing that you have, then you've lost the game already. And that applies to what you put inside of your heart, what you allow to escape from your heart, how you nourish your heart, how you look at and treat your heart, who you hand your what? Heart to, and who you don't hand your heart to. So the qalb is the master, Sayyidul A'da. Everything else is inferior and subservient to the heart. The Prophet ﷺ says, Shaykh al-Sami quotes two hadiths. One is authentic, and the second one isn't necessarily that authentic. The first is the famous narration of Nu'man ibn Bashir, that indeed in the heart there is a lump of flesh, there's a morsel, there's a piece of flesh that إِذَا صَلُحَتْ. Once again, that same word. If it's right, if it's usable, if it's suitable, if it's righteous, if it's wholesome, then the rest of the body will be so. And if it's rancid, fasadat, putrid, it's rotten, then that will be the case of the rest of the body. Meaning the deeds and the actions of a human being will be putrid, will be foul. If the heart is pure, the deeds will be pure. If the heart is filthy and dirty and stained and rusted, then one's deeds will be so. Unfortunately, وَإِذْ قَدْ خُلِقَ الْقَلْبُ لِأَنْ يُعْلَمَ بِهِ فتوجهه نحو الأشياء ابتغاء العلم بها هو الفكر والنظر كما أن إقبال الأذن على الكلام ابتغاء سمعه هو الإصغاء والاستماع وانصراف الطرف إلى الأشياء طلبا لرؤيتها هو النظر فالفكر للقلب كالإصغاء للأذن ومثله نظر العينين فيما سبق وإذا علم ما نظر فيه فذاك مطلوبه كما أن الأذن إذا سمعت ما أصغت إليه أو العين إذا أبصرت ما نظرت إليه. Next paragraph, next sentence. He says, listen carefully. So if a person knows and if a person realizes that the heart was made to discern, to know things, for ilm, then what is the pathway to knowing things with the heart? What's the pathway to learning things through the heart? He says it is looking and thinking, reflecting, using your heart to reflect. How do you feel? I know what you heard. I know the words. I know the terminology. But how do you feel about that deep down inside? Do you really feel comfortable with that? Honestly, all jokes aside. Sheikh Fulan said this fatwa, so on and so forth. Do you feel comfortable with that deep down inside? At the end of the day, did you think about it? Do you really feel? You feel it or you don't feel it? So the pathway to using the heart properly is thinking, using the heart to think, and using the heart to ponder. Just like the ears, in order to catch something or to receive something, it has to do what? Has to listen. And that's why your mom said, are you listening to me, boy? Are you listening? Do you hear me? Of course, as she's beat her son or reprimands her son Obviously, the son's ears are what? Maftuh, they're open, clearly. But she says, are you listening? Are you paying attention? Isra. He says, and the eyes, in order to capture or to grasp something, they have to, gotta look and say, pay what? Attention, focus, use your eyes, right? He says, so the thinking for the heart is like listening for the ears. Thinking for the heart is like zooming in for the eyes, focusing in for the eyes. Tayyib. So therefore, if the heart is used to think and to reflect, then that is matlub. That's what's needed and that's what's desired, etc. Moving forward, next page, he says, وَكَمْ مِنْ نَاظِرٍ مُفَكِّرٍ لَمْ يُصِبْ الْعِلْمَ وَلَمْ يَنَلْهُ كما أنه كم من ناظر إلى الهلال لا يبصره ومستمع إلى صوت لا يسمعه وعكسه من يؤتى علما بشيء لم ينظر فيه ولم تسبق منه سابقة فكر فيه كمن فاجأته رؤية الهلال من غير قصد إليه أو سمع قولا من غير أن يصغ إليه وذلك كله لأن القلب بنفسه يقبل العلم وإنما الأمر موقوف على شرائط واستعداد قد يكون فعلا من الإنسان فيكون مطلوبا وقد يأتي فضلا من الله فيكون موهوبا. He then says, how many people look at things and they don't obtain the necessary knowledge? How many people, for example, they look for the moon, sighting the crescent, the new moon phase, but they don't see it. You looked in the wrong direction. You looked at the wrong time. It was cloudy. You looked at the wrong, etc. How many people want to hear something? They're trying to spy on somebody, trying to listen to someone, and they what? I didn't get everything that he said. I couldn't hear everything. The receiver, it didn't what? It didn't pick up everything. He says, and the opposite is the opposite. There are many people who are given knowledge, but they didn't think about it first. They didn't ponder over it. They didn't reflect. Just like a person who accidentally sights the moon, or a person who accidentally hears something and comes across something. And this is because the heart is the thing that accepts, period. The heart is the receiver, nothing else. He says, and there must be conditions and prerequisites. There has to be things that are done before the knowledge actually comes. If man himself did that, then that's good. But it may be a time and maybe an instance in which Allah Azza wa Jal blesses somebody with it. And that's a talent, a God-given talent. It's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَصَلَاحُ الْقَلْبِ وَحَقُّهُ الَّذِي هُوَ الَّذِي خُلِقَ مِنْ أَجْلِهِ هُوَ أَنْ يَعْقِلَ الْأَشْيَاءَ وَلَا أَقُولُ أَنْ يَعْلَمَهَا فَقَط فَقَدْ يَعْلَمُ الشَّيْءَ مَنْ لَا يَكُونُ عَاقِلًا لَهُ بَلْ غَافِلًا عَنْهُ مُلْغِيًا لَهُ والذي يعقل الشيء هو الذي يقيده ويضبطه ويعيه أو ويعيه كذا ويثبته في قلبه فيكون وقت الحاجة إليه غنيا فيطابق عمله قوله وباطنه ظاهره وذلك هو الذي أوتي الحكمة ومن يؤتى الحكمة فقد أوتي خيرا كثيرا. وقال أبو الدرداء إن من الناس من يؤتى علما ولا يؤتى حكما وإن الشداد من أوس ممن أوتي علما وحكما. Shaykh al-Islam, he then goes on to discuss this even further. The difference between knowledge and wisdom, information and understanding. The difference between understanding a thing and knowing a thing. The difference between comprehending a thing, yaqil al-ashya, versus you've written it down or recorded it, etc. If I'm not mistaken, this book is in English. I'm not sure. I think it's translated, a treatise on the heart. I'm not sure. You can check it out. And if it's not translated in English, then hopefully maybe one day we have the ability to finish commentary on the book. The only thing that I wanted was to incite and to stir up your thinking follicles, right? As they say, when talking about hair replacement. A man gets a hair transplant or they reinstitute his hair. They have to do what? The tingly feelers. This is the term they use. They have to incite the nerves to do what? For the hair to grow back by itself. And FYI, the complexity of a hair transplant or regrowing hair. Many men suffer from male pattern baldness. It differs from age to age and race to race. But many men around the world, they suffer from this. And it's a great means of insecurity among many, many men. All right? Many people, it's hereditary, some people, etc., etc. And the proof of this is the Prophet ﷺ's hadith about the 3 men from Banu Israel. One was what? A leper. The second one was bald. And the third one was blind. And Allah sent an angel to each of them. And Allah wanted to test them. He went to the leper. What do you want? He says, of course, I want my leprosy to go away. People think I'm nasty and dirty and disgusting. Then the angel, he went to the second man. What do you want? He says, I want such and such, and I want my hair to go back. People look down upon me. They make fun of me, etc., etc., etc. And obviously, if a man is bald, the first thing people think is that he's extremely old. Right or wrong? And if you're extremely old, then that automatically means you're this, you can't do that, this doesn't work, this is out of whack, this is out of sync, etc. It's a whole complex mindset of going bald. So the technology that the people have today, and perhaps they had it even back in the day, but we're talking about what's documented now, is there's no longer wearing a toupee. There's no longer using Rogaine and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not only a president, I'm also what? A client. That's what he said. I'm not also the president, I'm also the what? Guys, this may be too old for you. Back in the day, right? How many presidents, leaders wear what? Toupees. Women wear what? Wigs. How many women suffer from alopecia? Their hair falls out. Need we go any further? Our culture. How many women who don't have long hair, they don't have this type of hair, they want what? What do they want? It's a fact. Am I making this up, Naeem, or not? On Lancaster Avenue, how many places for weaves and wigs are there? How many? It's not just horsehair, human hair from Vietnam, from Cambodia, from this place, from Brazil. Am I making this up or not? It's billion-dollar business, big business. A person's hair and their appearance is extremely important. So nowadays, we have the technology. You don't have to get a wig. You don't have to get a toupee. You don't have to use this and rub this. But we're going to give you certain types of surgery in which the hair itself what? Grows back itself. And one of the most important steps and phases of this is for them to trick your nerves. They stimulate your nerves for the hair to start tingling and tangling and sprouting itself. And once you get that surgery, you can't sleep on your head for 2 months. You can't sweat excessively. You can't eat black pepper. You can't do this. You can't, because it's a delicate process. And that is knowledge. Oftentimes, it's not enough time to give you everything, or it's unsuited to give you everything. But the speaker, inshallah, is to make that spark. It's to get you to think. It's to get your mind, your heart to start tingling. Let me read more about this myself. Let me check this out. What? Let me do a Google search. Let me go on Wikipedia and read more about what he gave us 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes about. So that's the purpose. It's to stimulate your desire, your thirst, and your appetite for knowing more about this topic and this subject. So we'll stop here tonight. If there are any questions here from the brothers or the sisters, and we'll take them. And if not, alhamdulillah. Fadal. Reviving the heart. All of that is there, whether it's in that book or other books as well. And alhamdulillah, from the beauty of these 2 great Islamic personalities, which I feel are, if not from the greatest of scholars that Allah has blessed this ummah with, pound for pound. Okay? From the bravest, from the most talented. My 2 personal favorite authors, Ibn Taymiyyah and his pupil, Ibn Qayyim, not only did they talk about technical issues and fiqh and aqidah and this and that and debate and fight, etc., not only did they not care about what people thought and felt, but they did a great deal of service talking about the heart. In Arabic and in English, you'll find them on the forefront of the heart doctors of Islam. The people who talked about dead heart, reviving the heart, bringing the heart back to life, just like the hair. The missing hair, how to not to put a toupee on it, a fake heart, fake revival. Oh, I'm good, I'm this, I'm that. No, but to actually stimulate the what? The heart itself to regrow on itself, what? By itself. So any book of Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, you'll find them talking about the heart, one way or another, let alone the works that are specifically dealing with dead hearts. And in English, Shaykh Islam has a book called Amradul Qulub, diseases of the heart and their cures. And Allah knows best. Okay, inshallah, we'll stop here. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam wa baraka ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa imamina Muhammad. Jazakumullah khairan.